well, just in case. Let me
No
get my
problem.
questions. You coming on camera by chance or no?
It depends on you if you want me to.
I
Once the
literally,
internet starts to dip, you know how it goes with this
I'm
Wi-Fi,
gonna
I would
try
drop
if
off.
there's
But I would.
any problems, you can just come up.
So you're seeing me, right?
Yeah, there's a little plant in front of your face.
Oh, sorry. Jesus Christ. Give me a 2 minutes, right? Let me
All right, no
just change the
problem.
prop. Yeah.
All right, for anybody who might be watching, uh, first time I'm streaming on YouTube. So I'm using OBS. I normally use Streamlabs. I had a bit of issue setting up. So pardon me for the delay and any kind of hiccups we might have. It's be cleaned up in the future. So while Kwesi is away, let me just say this is a new series that me and Tristan will be having. He's supposed to be producing it, but we had some streaming issues. It's called Rasta versus Baldhead. So the goal of this is to help revitalize the local FGC community, the local FGC, and to help try and bring more funding, recognition, more activity, and all the other things that the FGC needs. So in this first episode, we will be doing an interview with Kwesi Charles. Kwesi Charles. Okay, Kwesi is back with us. You ready, Kwesi? You're mute. Maybe you should take off the video, I guess.
Yes, you hear me properly?
Yeah, I hear you. You can take off the video, I
Okay, I
guess,
just
because
submitted.
I see a dip. There might be a dip in the bandwidth. All right, Kwesi. So can you tell everyone who you are in respect to the Esports Federation? Hello?
Yes, you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, I was just switching my Wi-Fi connection and it keeps switching to our next
Okay.
hotspot. So tell me.
So can you tell me who you are in regards to the Esports Federation?
Okay, so for those of y'all who don't know me, I am Kwesi Charles. I am one of the founders of the Electronic Sports Federation of Trinidad and Tobago. So the main question, people usually ask is, what is the federation, why we started it, and things like that, right? So let me just go through a history, especially as we on Rasta versus Baldhead. Although I am seen a man with a cap and no Rasta, um, no stranger to the esports. Although for everybody who know me, most of my activity has been around FIFA or even NBA 2K, or I would have had some dabbles through Chrono Fantasy in terms of the fighting games and things like that. So just a bit of it. I mean, the federation is something that, in terms of the local esports framework, been bouncing around for years. In 2019, nobody had any idea COVID was going to hit. So in 2019, we went ahead, both Alpha and myself. Alpha is no stranger, and we formed the federation with one goal. So the goal really is, when you look at the local esports ecosystem in Trinidad and Tobago, it's at the very grassroots level. In addition, when you're looking at what happens, there's a lot of gaming activity, but very, very few esports related activity. So what that meant is, the role of a federation will be two things. One, in order to develop general esports framework, the esports ecosystem, for us to go beyond things like just throwing a tournament and that's about it. Because I mean, I don't know if you will be aware, but esports is more than a guy throwing a tournament. It has different aspects. Thankfully, we have started to see even esports on the academia slash educator side taking place in Trinidad at the moment. So for us, it's really about one thing: developing the framework, because we know that in terms of the gaming population and the opportunities that esports provide for the younger children who are currently in high school, secondary school, they may have a very fair shot to participate in the esports industry. So that was the first thing. And the second thing is really about being able to have our athletes represent the country at a national level, right? And when I say national level, we have to distinguish between a competition that is a nationally recognized competition and a competition whereby a Trinidadian is taking place. So for example, let's say I'll always use FIFA as an example, right? So in FIFA, there's a global series. I mean, everybody will know that recently they would have changed the game. So in the global series, all players represent themselves, right? Now somebody goes to the final or whenever it is, it will be, okay, this is Kwesi and he is from Trinidad and Tobago. In that capacity, he's a player, right? But he's also from Trinidad and Tobago. So it's not to say it's a national representation. And then on the flip side, there'll be the ESports World Cup, which is now where Kwesi, if he is also representing Trinidad and Tobago as an esports athlete, he will go through the necessary local federation, and in that case, it will be things like the TTFA to then be an esports athlete through the TTFA, who then liaises with FIFA, and then we have the national esports development. So I just want to make that clear that it's a twofold thing. The first thing is about developing the sector, which is definitely needed. I mean, I have been around the esports framework for more than 15 years. And if I look at what has been happening in the days of Golden Doors and Consort Mall and all of those things, what is happening today currently is almost the same thing, with few and far in between any sort of movement or difference, right? So that shows you the
I don't want to cut you off. Just trying to be concise and clear. Because
of course.
So because people already know how Trinidad and Tobago has been and more or less still is. So the reason we just want to find out exactly what the Esports Federation is. So can you tell me what is the mission of the company?
As I said before, right, it's quite straightforward. To develop the esports framework through national representation, development, and the mixing of academia and sport. It's like with any other federation, it's a private body doing public work. And what that means is, as a private body, it's registered privately and all of those different things. And depending on the strategic plan and the year of the strategic plan, then we open to our members, and then we become accountable to our membership.
I heard through the grapevines that you might be a non-profit, or you registered as something different.
Okay, so I mean, I don't think you can hear through the grapevine. I mean, a bit of research will show that to become a governing body, you first must register legally as a non-profit. To become a proper association or a proper federation to represent a sport, you must be first a non-profit. That is required, whether you consider it by law or you consider it by the Ministry of Sport, whatever it is, and that is publicly available information.
Okay, okay, sorry about that. So in terms of the fighting game community and esports as a whole, what kind of services might the federation provide to help facilitate the growth?
So So as I would have stated previously, the beginning of the federation is one, national representation. So when it began in 2019, there's a few things that any federation and or association who seeks to represent a sport on a national level must do. The first thing is they can be a member of the global bodies. In our case, is the Global Esports Federation and the International Esports Federation. Then the second thing is to become a national governing body, you first have to be registered as a club and then get recognition from the TTOC. Two things which we are currently which are currently in progress. So to answer your question in terms of what services we offer, if you look at if I was to share a bit of our strategic plan, the first thing we would have done is to get representation. So anybody again, last year we would have had the first participation in the International Esports Federation and then the International Esports General Meeting and things like that. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing is in terms of services, the federation it shouldn't be considered a service provider. The federation is more leading the development of the framework, right? So if you want to class things like ensuring that we have a national league running as a service, then that is where the federation come in, and a national league which fits into the global championships. And when I say global championships, I mean global inter-country championships. So for example, as I said previously, with things like, let's say TAPCOM Cup or EVO or whatever, those things are more privately run, right? But if the federation wants, the federation can say, okay, Rondell, we can sponsor you to go out there or whatever the case is. So I hope I answer your question. It's not like we providing services to develop the community and things like that. All of those things are a bonus in terms of one day, we have a facility whereby people could come and stream and all of those things. Those things are later on in the plan. But for now, it starts with being able to first get a level of representation, and then secondly, being able to get a level of consistent play to drive players, to drive a thriving actual esports community.
Okay, and how can people get involved in the federation, where it might be volunteering, maybe donating, in any kind of way to help?
So the thing about it is this, right? Which if you look at sports in general and you look at sport and development globally, and especially in Trinidad and Tobago, everybody always thinks, from the time they hear a federation, it means that everybody going to be involved and it's a whole public gathering and all of those kind of things. All federation starts as a closed group, right? So the closed group will say, okay, this is our plan, because to become a member of any one of the global bodies and even to be registered at a national level, you first have to start as a closed group, which could be at that point be considered a club. That's just the legal term. And then you meet certain milestones in your strategic plan. So for us, as I said, the first thing we would have done was to go to the international esports stuff. The second thing is to work with the GEF. This year, we would have had the plans to do the Commonwealth Youth Games esports. That was
sorry to cut you off. Just so more line with the question. So basically, at the moment, there's no way for people to help.
So what I'm saying is, at the moment, right, the federation is still in its embryonic stages, whereby it's still closed, right? So we don't have open membership as yet. In 2024, we will come to the market, go to the gaming community, and then first say, okay, you can register as a gamer, right? And when you register as a gamer, it means that you have the ability to know what's going on in the federation, what the federation plans are, and things like that. So that is why I was giving you a breakdown of the timeline to show you how every federation starts. You get key things done, and then you open towards
the public,
towards having having membership / shareholders.
Well, I wasn't talking about just shareholders. I'm talking about people contributing in different ways to,
Right, and
let's
that's
say,
and
to increase the speed of the growth.
right, and that's what I consider shareholders. A shareholder is
Okay.
anybody who is
Understood.
actively shareholder slash stakeholder. Right?
Okay. So as we know, the esports community is very wide in Trinidad and Tobago. It goes from
Very wide, very
FIFA.
small.
Well, it's small. Yeah, well, yeah, let's say it's small, but it doesn't matter. But it's despite how small we are, we still are wide because there are different communities
No
and different
problem.
segments. Because there's the
No problem.
fighting game community, there's the
Mm-hmm.
FIFA community, there are Clash of Clan communities, and there are other small
Yeah.
niches.
Yeah.
How well is the Esports Federation able to communicate with these different communities to participate in the national and international level?
So just to be again, the name of the organization is the esports, right? That definitely means that if a game can be done or is considered as esports, and there is a need for a national based competition, once there is an available market within Trinidad and Tobago, we will be willing to participate. So, for example, let's use something like Microsoft Excel, which is a new sort of esports that is growing up. If there's a Microsoft Excel World Cup, country versus country, we would get involved in that. So no community is really, there's no preference of no
Sorry, I think
community
I
at the
misunderstood the
end of the
question.
day.
Okay. How was the capabilities of you communicating with these people? How can these people get to you? I want to know how the communication going because the community is so wide. But I think the federation is only 3 members, correct?
Right, and at the end of the day, we would communicate. We recently started our Instagram handle via the Esports Fed Instagram handle. That's our main source of communication right now. So anything we're doing and what we use that platform for is, again, given the embryonic stages in terms of where we are, we use that platform just to get other people aware of different activities happening in respective communities in the gaming framework locally.
So the best thing for people of any esport in Trinidad and Tobago would be just if they know
reach
about
out via
anything
Instagram
and reach out,
via
let you know this
Instagram,
going on, that going on, and whatnot.
right? And that's it. So then the next thing is when we start having the whole interest, which is what I was saying from next year, is where we collect like an email database. And when there are things going on, so for example, when we get the calendar of events for the world championships, the global esports games, those sort of things, we would release it via email. And then we would also work directly with the different communities to hold the qualifiers and things like that. But right now it's more Instagram, and that's it.
Okay. So is there any way for people to find out more about the Esports Federation without having to directly communicate with someone? Is there like an online resource?
So as I say, it's Instagram, right? And I will tie it back to my previous question, my previous statement. When any federation starts, it starts as a private, closed entity, right? And as we go forward, we will do things like ensuring that we have a proper functioning website, ensure that we have a proper functioning social media handles to communicate consistently and across any different gaming title or any different activity that we may have. So right now, given how we are operating, we ensuring the necessary boxes are ticked from a strategic level to show that there is the capacity of this thing to grow. And then eventually we would move on to having a website and things like that.
Can you give me a brief understanding of your goals for the next coming year?
I mean, as I said previously, the goal for next year is to have a level of interest from different gaming communities. That's the first thing.
What does that mean?
Registered. That means registered interest, right? So people would be able to sign up, because right now, right, we started privately, and most people, as I would have explained earlier in terms of becoming a member, whatever, most people want to know more, right? So that's the first main thing for next year. Then also next year, we have the global esports games, and we have the international esports world championships. Across those two major global esports tournaments, we would also like to at least, have qualifiers, because not all the games go get a direct spot. So this year we would have had eFootball, formerly known as Pro Evolution Soccer. And we also had a Dota 2 team who would have taken part in the qualifiers. So for us, next year is again across all the different games that they may have as part of these World Championships, to at least get local qualifiers taking place.
Okay, so we here are mostly involved with the fighting game community.
No problem.
What would you recommend for the fighting game community to best utilize what you guys are doing? So how would you advise people to structure their tournaments, leagues, and so forth?
Firstly, you see, let me just give you a brief overview, which most people don't think about all the time, right? We like to say, yeah, we have a fighting game community, right? But if somebody really wants to have a fighting game community, it can be somebody who knows about esports in the USA, and they come tomorrow and say, here, I'm gonna start a Street Fighter club, and this is how it's going to go. So what I say that to say, the first thing you will have to do is have consistent activity, right? Then the second thing, which runs parallel to consistent activity, means a proper structure. Who is the lead? Who is the lead within the fighting game community? Who is the speaker? You understand? Who is the person who could be the liaison between the fighting game community and anything that is going on a global level, or through the esports federation? The second thing is how many leagues you are running. All of these things independent of the federation, and how many leagues you all plan to run for next year. Who is doing that? Who is doing what?
So to me, to get it from the front, you would advise that we start some form of legal structure.
I wouldn't call it legal structure, I'll call it organizational community structure.
And that organizational community structure doesn't need to have a legal framework. It just needs to have an organized framework.
Organized. This is who the fighting game community considers to be the elected leader. This is the liaison. This is the fighting game community secretary. This is the fighting game community administration. This is the fighting game community social media, digital manager, whatever the case is. This is the activities happening in the fighting game community. In March, February, April, we have Street Fighter 6, 7, whatever. In May, we have Tekken. In June, we have Smash Brothers. We also doing some work within the schools. We have started to talk to, I know, GG Lounge have their school program. We have started to talk to GG Lounge to see if we could partner with them to introduce more fighting games to the secondary schoolers. So it's things like that. You understand, an organizational community structure to actually show that there is a proper fighting game community, and most gaming communities, if not all, in Trinidad sort of don't have that, right? It's just one man operating on this side, and next man operating on this side, and next man operating on this side. We need to have an actual structure across all, because that will make it a lot easier too. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
Because if you look at it, right, and it's something that we have to make a decision on. If we keep saying, okay, there's the global esports games, I can reach out to Panda, and then Panda will say, well, hey, Fred is the best.
There's nobody official to really speak with to get any kind of authoritative say.
That's what I'm saying. And then there's nobody to speak with, and then there's no way we even see an activity. And this is across all the different games. You understand? One, you might see a tournament pop up here, a tournament pop up there. But I mean, for it to really work, it has two sides of the story. It has the side where the federation will say, okay, guys, we would want to run a national Street Fighter league. To feed into a national Street Fighter league, or a national Mortal Kombat league, or national Tekken league, whatever it is, it has to have a functioning community structure below that to make it easy.
Understood. So what I want to ask now is about your government affiliation. Do you have any government affiliation?
Well, as I said,
or is that more a loose partnership?
That's a very, very loose question and statement, because people always think because of the name that it immediately government affiliated, as I said before.
Sorry,
to
let
become
me
the
just
national,
when I say government affiliated, I mean, do
right?
you have a working partnership with the government?
So as I said before, right, when we started the federation, if to get to the NGB status, right, we have to be registered as a club. The government doesn't have to do anything. It's part of the Ministry of Sports requirement. You register as a club, whatever the case is. Now we also have the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee. So over last year at the Commonwealth Games, they would have asked us to work with them to send a representative. That was in partnership with the Global ESports Federation. So things like that are happening. But as we continue to solidify our status, as I say, we have already done the outside bodies. Is a matter of us continuing our application and operation as a club, and then we become an NGB, and then we able to get letters of documentation to the TTOC and things like that.
Okay, understood.
Mm-hmm.
I feel all right. So I want to ask something, but I don't want it to be too controversial. It only came back to my attention recently. I really
No
didn't want
problem.
to talk about this because the main purpose I wanted for this interview is just information. But people,
Well, I hope information was provided.
yeah, I
so
think we
far,
got a lot of the information.
yeah.
I left out some of the questions
Yeah.
because I felt like it wasn't needed. I felt like you covered it enough. But
No problem.
a big issue locally.
Right.
Let me just keep my opinion out of it. But the big issue
Right.
locally is trust. People don't really trust some people. So there was a
Right.
flyer. I'll put the flyer, well, people watching on YouTube, they'll be able to see the flyer somewhere on screen right now.
No
There'll be a
problem.
flyer and there's the logo for the Esports Federation on it.
Right.
And for that tournament, the prizes were not fulfilled at all, as far as I am able to understand. People paid their entry fees. It was hosted by GG Lounge. People paid their entry fees. When the top three winners won, they did not get their promised prizes. How is that the response? Is the Esports Federation responsible for that? Your branding was on the flyer.
So at the end of the end of the day, how it can work is two ways, right? The first way is the Esports Federation could officially host a tournament, right? Host a national tournament. That's the first way. The second way is a private provider could come to us and say, hey guys, X, Y, and Z, if we could possibly get the endorsement or things like that, right? I guess in this case, the latter would have been the source of the actions.
And the host
So
fell through.
in terms of right now, again, we always have to be clear on what is communicated, right? And especially on platforms like these, because you see, when it comes to representation, what people never say is sometimes somebody might come and say, yeah, you would get to go, but you have to fulfill X, Y, and Z. And on the back end, or you have to have simple things like having a proper passport or whatever the case is. You understand? And then the winner never want to do their part in some cases, and then you know they everybody quick to spread the word. Yeah, them fellas tell me I was supposed to go here, or this host tell me I was supposed to go here.
All right,
and they didn't
Kwesi,
do X
I'm
and they
sorry
didn't
to
do
cut you off.
so
Our time is finishing on Zoom. I couldn't get, yeah, finishing just now.
But just to clear up that's something that I think we need to again on
it will be cleared up because I have an interview with the host of that tournament. So if you want to join on the call, you could join on the call. That call should probably be sometime next week. So we'll be interviewing the owner of GG Lounge, so we could resolve that issue.
Let us know. As I said before, it's not from where we sit is not us to say, well, boy, X didn't do, Y didn't do. Right at the end of the day, we need to figure out what was the details of this event, who didn't fulfill what, and then we work from there.
All right, so I now see we have about 9 minutes left. I wasn't seeing it before, so
no problem.
and as normally it's a paid Zoom, but it wasn't my name, and I did not need that name to show up here. So it's a bad luck.
No problem. You need to update your Zoom.
Yeah. That'll happen. No, I'm looking for funds and things
Yes.
to boost up the channel and hope the FGC support
Okay.
support me so I can support them.
Okay.
But I've been careful because I was one of the person who had the biggest animosity against GG Lounge. I would refuse to go to
Right.
tournaments, and I would tell
Right.
people not to go to tournaments because if somebody has a tournament and they don't give the prizes that they promise, or there's some kind of for lack of a better word, a scam that might be perceived, I have issues because the
Right.
tournament. Let me finish. Because the tournament
Yeah.
prize was supposed to be representing Trinidad and Tobago in an online tournament. But
Right. And as I would
wait, let me finish. So you would assume that if they're saying that, that means either one, the tournament is exclusive and you need some kind of portal to enter the tournament, or two, the host of the tournament would be paying your entry. So the host
Right.
did not pay the entry, and two, the tournament is an open tournament. So something wrong there.
And as I say, you're interviewing me, Kwesi Charles.
Yeah.
You're not interviewing the host of the tournament or things like that.
All right. So I'm just saying the issue.
But as I was saying, given the fragmented, the fragmented nature of esports in Trinidad and Tobago, I always prefer not to dwell on what didn't happen, because as I say, sometimes communication is important and sometimes we never get the whole picture as to why it didn't happen. And most of these things can be worked out offline anyhow you think.
I understand that. And to a degree, I agree. But there are conmen out there and you shouldn't really give. I'm not saying he is a conman. We need to have a discussion. But there are conmen out there and you shouldn't really give them too much room, otherwise you'll lose everything. They could hurt the fighting community, because there have been conmen in the past who had sponsorship with Flow and other large corporate bodies, and they basically dirty the water, the fighting game community, causing us drastically.
Let me just say this, Panda, at the end of the day, you having an interview with me, all of those things.
Sorry, I got carried away. I am very passionate about this.
And I understand, right? You're having an interview with me. I could only be accountable for things that you ask me.
All right. So let me
because somebody might have a particular relationship with you, and then for me, they do everything that I would have asked them to do. No scam, no whatever. And I think calling, using those sort of adjectives very loosely is not the right thing. So let's just spend the rest of our time talking about things, in terms of how we could really develop the local situation.
My apologies on that. I was a bit too loose-lipped with it. So let me just close off. Is there anything you want to tell the fighting game community in particular? You have about 5 minutes.
I mean, at the end of the day, this year especially, we for the International Esports Federation World Championships in Romania, we would have had the fighting game community would have possibly had one representative. However, the information from the IESF came a bit late, and I understand all the different reservations that would have led to. Right now, with that being said, the opportunity is still there next year, and the years to come. I would encourage the fighting game community to really get a level of structure. Ensure. I mean, I could always send you guys emails in terms of how other leagues are being structured through their to flow international format. Ensure, as I say, you all have proper organizational community structure so we know who is who. And then secondly, you all really have functioning activity, and functioning activity may not necessarily always be tournaments. It can be things like a man streaming, a man showing different moves, a man doing something that would keep the community vibrant, you know what I mean? And even something I think was really cool, I remember at a point in time, you all had different teams, and you, Keegan, I can't remember the name of all your team at that point in time. And then it had men like Elmo and I mean, I think those things are things that, you know, really, really, really cool that you all have going. It's just a matter of adding a bit more structure and understanding that, you know, you all need to work with a proper vision and a proper roadmap in terms of what you all want to accomplish. And then from there on, we can make things happen.
All right, Kwesi, well, thank you very much for your time. I'll give you
No
information of
problem.
when I will be talking to the owner of GG Long so we could go more over on what happened there and see how we can build more trust in the community to move forward, because a lot of us in the community are very passionate. You know yourself, we had
Of course.
done in Dominican Republic. We had a good show in there. We had some good showing online in the World Warrior competition. Less familiar with the Tekken community, but we have a lot of showing there. We have a lot of showing in Smash as well. And I believe there's even a larger fighting game community that we are not aware of, like Brawlhalla and other games that are not within our stream.
And I mean, even I hope I have a little bit more time. Even if you look at it outside of the FGC, right? We have the FIFA community. PTFA is doing a lot of work in terms of making sure we have the national team, what the framework would look like, what if we need to go to secondary schools, legal things like that. And even during COVID, they would have had the Trinidad and Tobago Automobile Association. They would have done with the Global Automobile Association to do the sim racing, right? That all shows you that at the end of the day, beyond the esports federation, once the local community or the local structure is strong enough, things could happen, right? And we always have to make sure that, you know, we have the structure to really push the necessary results. Because I always when I look at the age of the guys who play FIFA, and then you look at the global professionals especially, there's a huge age gap. So the only way the fighting game community again could go back into the younger ages is by having a proper structure. And as I would say, in addition to that, you know, the whole talk about scamming and trust. I understand that. I have been in this thing, as I say, 15 years, and the amount of guys I know come in and say, well, I'm gonna try and make a money and then disappear. You understand that I can't even count on my 2 hands and my 10 toes anymore, because men come in and try and take something and go. You know, but from where we stand, I mean, I think for us, it's just a matter of people understanding our role and function. And once they properly understand our role and function, then they would see, well, this is what the Federation can do, this is what the Federation not supposed to do. So if a man wants to go Capcom or Evo, he could go on its own. The Federation could choose to say, okay, we will give you a jersey, but at the end of the day, you are not, it's not a national competition, but you are a representative of Trinidad and Tobago, so we could afford to help you out.
Sorry, thank you, Kwesi. Thank you for your time. We're looking to go there. Until next time, see you next week.
See you with the Rasta next week, right? And the Baldhead. Take care, my friend.
Yeah, take care.
All right.